Hey, what's going on? JD here. This is the Daily JD. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it as always. Remember to hit that like button, hit the bell, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Start throwing your comments into the chat. If you have any questions today, by all means, throw them in there. I am more than willing to talk about anything that you guys want to discuss for the day, so chuck those in the comments. I do have a few things to talk about today that we'll get to. But first off, I'd just like to remind you guys that we are a Patreon supported stream. We are currently a demonetized channel, although we are working on changing that today, very much so. So you can head over to Patreon and support us there, where our supporters, Mr. Matt Mort, Nick Samurai Fingers, and Reviewee McReviewface, all support us there. Their links for their YouTube channels are down below, so check those guys out. They have some fantastic channels and some fantastic content, so check those guys out. They are our supporters on Patreon, and we deeply appreciate that, guys, for your ongoing support. You guys absolutely rock. Also, you can catch us on Twitch. We have our channel there. You can definitely check us out there. And if you're looking to get a hold of me any other time, of course, there is my Twitter account at Pain Inc. You can definitely, shoot me a note there. As a lot of you guys have been doing this week, which I absolutely appreciate. I find Twitter, sort of like I said before, the best way for me, the best social media platform for me, and I enjoy, sort of having those conversations out there. Good to see you, Josh. Thanks for joining. Good to see you, Reviewee. Thanks for joining us all in the chat today. So, got a bunch of stuff going on. Got a few topics. As I mentioned yesterday, I photographed Joe Satriani. I will be doing a live edit of those photographs on 6 p.m. on this channel. I may co-stream it to Twitch. I haven't decided yet. It'll be an interesting one to watch because it was a bit of a different shoot. It wasn't the normal sort of thing that I do, and it was kind of a twist thrown in at the last minute. So obviously, if you tune into that stream, I will talk all about that stuff, and basically go through my editing process and all that kind of stuff. And it's good because, like I said, there's a little bit of a different twist to it, something that was thrown at me unexpected, and, that's part of the job, and you've got to deal with it, and you got to make sure you deal with it right. So we will definitely talk about those things as well. Also, you can check out on Teespring, we have the Zero Fucks Given shirt that helps support Lloyd and JD, as well as we have Nick Samurai Fingers Samurai logo. You can check out Nick's channel. His link is below. And of course, we have Mr. Matt Mort's movie theater head shirt. All those shirts are on Teespring. They support the respective channels. So if you're interested in supporting any of those guys, by all means, head over to Teespring, pick up a shirt from those guys. Again, they're all Patreon supporters, and the links are down below. Good to see you, Divot King. Good to see that you've joined us. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is we're going to talk about tags. We're going to talk about view time. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. I just want to say thanks to everybody out there that has been watching, sort of my back catalog of stuff. I know Pete has been out doing that. I know Josh has been doing it as well. I know Nick has been, doing it for some time as well. I appreciate it all, guys. We are less than 25 hours away from hitting sort of our target, and it's kind of interesting because it is a floating target, but we have been going up and we have been increasing. Our watch time has been increasing on sort of a daily basis, and I think that's all thanks to you guys. It is all thanks to you guys, so greatly appreciative of that. Hopefully tomorrow maybe I get to say that we've sort of cracked that 4,000 mark finally, and we get the green check mark, and we go to review and all that kind of good stuff. Hopefully I'll be able to say that. I'm pretty confident if it doesn't happen Friday that probably that's going to be the conversation on Monday. And again, greatly appreciated. I know that you guys have been watching a lot of stuff. You've been tuning into a lot of these live streams, and I'm deeply appreciative for all of that. It makes me feel super good. And like I said, I just enjoy kind of sitting down and talking all the time. It's You know, when I started these live streams, I wasn't sure how it's going to go, and it's just become sort of that routine that I do every day, and I thoroughly enjoy it. You know, I kind of look forward to this portion of the day. And, you know, I know some days that I don't have terribly a lot to talk about, and that's bound to happen, that are, you know, they're going to be kind of light days. But again, you know, super appreciative. All you guys jumping in, leaving comments, all that kind of stuff. Josh says, I hope you do, bud. I have one computer that's a VPN and one that doesn't. The view should count. Perfect. I mean, that's, you know, again, it's absolutely appreciated. You know, going back and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, in a kind of funny way, and I know my views don't count towards my own channel and stuff like that, but it was kind of interesting for me to go back and see just how deep the catalog was. I actually ended up watching a fair few of my vlogs from the past and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, believe it or not, watching my own stuff and seeing where I was and where I am now has sort of reinvigorated me to do some different things. So, you know, got the creative juices and going and all that kind of stuff. So it is a good idea to sort of go back. In that process, I also started looking at the tags and sort of tag ranking and all that kind of stuff. If you don't know, if you're not tagging your videos in YouTube, that is probably the #1 thing that you need to do. I would say it's probably the biggest priority in being searchable. I mean, I know people talk about the algorithm and all that kind of stuff in their channels and so on and so forth, but, you know, making sure that you are tagging your videos and tagging them well, appropriate to the content, is going to be super helpful. And a good example of that is, I actually have a video out there now, and it was one of the live streams that we did where I talked about Android way at the end of it, but I titled it Fortnite on Android, you know, sort of a warning video about downloads, because Epic Games has not released it yet for Android, but there's all these sort of scams going around revolving the video game. So if you actually put in your YouTube search engine and, you know, sort of search Fortnite on Android, I think that video actually ranks #5, and sort of getting up in those higher rankings will make a big difference in views. It will make a big difference in you being found. You know, obviously people will see the content a lot more if you're showing up sort of in those top videos versus, you know, 20 pages deep. It's just like Google. If you're looking for a photographer and you type in photography Calgary, and you're going to look at that first page, and, you know, unless you're looking for something very specific, you're probably not going to get that far. YouTube, kind of the same thing, especially in the initial search. And then, of course, recommended will be based on your viewing preferences from that point forward. So tags, very important. If you're not using it, I do recommend that you use something like vidIQ or TubeBuddy, because what you can do is go back and take a look at your videos, and you can actually see where you're ranking. In the process of me looking at my older sort of catalog, I saw some stuff where I was ranking, you know, fairly well in the video, so I just kind of wanted to take a look at some of the new stuff. And in that Fortnite case, I noticed I was ranked #5, typed it in, and sure enough, that's the case. So all very important. One of the struggles that I have had personally for a long time in sort of doing that is always been sometimes what to tag my videos. And, you know, I had that in the past, and just recently in the last little while, and I will say that certain videos that I have now are performing much better because of the way I'm going about tag. I use a site called Rapid Tags, and I'll throw that in the basic column there. Is that basically rapidtags.io generator. If you are going to do a video, what you do is you throw in the title of the video, and it will sort of scour, and it will suggest a bunch of tags for you. Obviously, like a lot of these options, there are two options that you can do. There's a paid option and unpaid option. Obviously, the paid option has some more little things, but, you know, me being #1 Scottish and #2 being Scottish, is that essentially I've gone for the cheaper sort of avenue initially, right? So, I mean, I'm going to see how it works out. And I'll be honest, it is working out rather well. It's basically recommending keywords that I wouldn't necessarily think of, and they've been doing a good job in ranking them. So I do recommend that you check it out. I do recommend that you go back to your videos and see how they're ranking, because that is going to make a big difference in the longevity of the video. A lot of times, you know, depending on your content, your video might have a short cycle life. If it's something that's newsworthy, maybe start talking about Roseanne Barr's, you know, sort of Twitter comments, it'll have a news cycle of a couple days, and then nobody's going to care or search for it unless she does something silly again. However, if you do an unboxing of a product, or maybe you do how to fix something, or you know some sort of educational or instructional thing, or you know, reviews, all those kind of things, at some point people are going to search those. So basically they build up. Some good examples, and it will build up over time. I have a video where I basically fixed my little Canon G7X, the shutter. Basically, because of the tags, that video is gaining more and more momentum, and is now consistently pumping in views every day, where when it first started out, it didn't get a lot of views because people weren't necessarily looking for it on that day, and its ranking continues to rise, and as it rises, it gets better. Same thing, I do a video on how to change oil in a 2017 Jeep JK. Same thing, it continually sort of generating traffic. Good to see you, Jerry. Thanks for dropping in. I'm just going to jump back to the comments here. Josh, Nick says it's cool to go back and watch to see how far you've come, etc. Absolutely, it's funny. Also, for me, amusing enough is that the beard is funny to watch. The fact that at some points I don't actually have a beard at all, and then it's quite short, and now it's this ugly mess that gets me just as a side note, every rock show that I go to now, somebody thinks that I'm James Hetfield in disguise. Last night somebody thought I was James Hetfield again. Obviously I'm not tattooed enough knuckle-wise and all that kind of stuff, but I almost get it all the time now. It's a big joke between me and my wife, and I just keep on saying that, you know, if I got James Hetfield sort of attention and, you know, privilege, I would be fine with that, you know. Otherwise, you know, it's not a lot of, but it's always entertaining when it does happen, because the guy's like yelling James, and I'm like, it's not me, because that's not my name. And then all of a sudden he's like, you know, up there, he's like, are you James Hetfield? I'm like, no. So always interesting. Divot King says, my question for the day is, at the end of each YouTube live chat, you seem to cut yourself off. Reason for this? I don't know. I don't know why I would cut myself off. Maybe it is something to do with the streaming. Maybe I have to leave it for a couple minutes and then let it sort of drop. Maybe that's the case. I'm not sure. Maybe it's the Stream Deck thing. I'm not 100% sure, because everything that happens I see on a monitor to my left, and essentially I can see what's happening live, or what I think's live. From the distance I can see that the mic's active and all that kind of stuff, even though sometimes when I'm not looking there it clicks off and I have a little bit of problem. I don't know why it gets cut off, but you know, that's maybe just the case. Maybe it's YouTube thing. Maybe I just have to, you know, kind of sit there a little bit longer and smile at the camera and all that kind of good stuff. So I will definitely have to take a look at that. I kind of watch the first, you know, few minutes, or if I know there's been things problematic in the stream, I will go and watch it. Typically, I watch the first few minutes of all the streams because I'm looking at things like audio levels. I want to see how, you know, sort of the cut-in timing is, all those kind of things. And because, like I said, I am a self-produced thing. There's nobody else here but myself, and I'm running this all from basically a couple of computers and a Stream Deck and a microphone and a webcam. I've just kind of got to, you know, roll with it. And when we have things that go wrong, and they most often do, especially with OBS, the software that I'm running on, and especially when I try to run video, it just goes really, really quick. So all that kind of stuff. Let's go on. Jerry says, biggest thing to do is killing dead videos. Videos with no views or little views is dragging your channel down. I have done that. I have culled a bunch of stuff. There is a little bit of concern for me at this moment. I culled a bunch of videos because you'd recommended that before, and I did find an increase in some of my videos as well. But I did it the one day, and then I lost like 2,000 minutes of watch time. I know that YouTube sort of just changed, you know, how things, you know, are sort of totaled and how they're added up. So basically, if I'm going to kill a video at this point, it'll be over a year old, because I have a sneaky suspicion if I kill it early, that ultimately at the end of the day it's going to affect that watch time hours, and that's kind of important to me right now. I know for someone like with a channel the size of Jerry's, that's not going to be a huge deal, but I do agree that sort of, you know, thinning your videos down and all that kind of stuff that has not been watched in forever is not necessarily a bad idea. I know a lot of YouTubers that do it. They will sort of cull things down, trim things down, better searchability, all that kind of stuff within the YouTube channel itself. But I mean, it all sort of depends, right? I mean, ultimately, if somebody's looking for something and then that's an avenue in, you know, sometimes that one person or 10 people that might watch it in a month might be worthwhile keeping it. It just sort of depends. I mean, that's up for debate. You know, we will see kind of thing. But I know, like I said, I culled a bunch of videos and I lost 2,000, you know, watch minutes, which was really, that's a big hit for me at this moment. In fact, if I had kept those, I probably would have been over the sort of, you know, threshold already. Like, again, you know, super close. We're under 25 hours now, kind of thing. So Josh says, I have so many dead videos, like a ton. I'm not sure if it makes a difference to make those private or not as well, but like I said, you know, I'm hesitant for anything less than a year old to sort of kill it. But it is worth a try. If, you know, I would at least, at the very least, if you're going to do that and you know, you want to keep your videos, is download it and back it up somewhere just to upload. And talking about uploads, again, I have noticed a trend going on with a lot of YouTubers, especially larger YouTubers. What they are doing is what I would call re-uploading. So I've noticed it with actually Casey Neistat, and it sort of happened a few times now. So, and I am either, one of two things are happening. Either I am a superhero and I'm able to see in the future and watch Casey's videos a couple days before everybody else, and then I get to see them when everybody else sees them. Or what's happening is Casey is posting them, chopping them down after he gets, you know, 1 million views, 500,000 views, and then re-uploading them again. And I think what the re-upload strategy is doing is, because, you know, essentially YouTube should be taking into account those views, you're getting paid, all those kind of things, you're getting your watch time, all that kind of stuff. You're actually basically playing with the notification system, because the video in particular, I wasn't notified the first time I watched it, but when he re-uploaded it today, I was definitely notified that it existed. So kind of an interesting strategy to sort of duplicate time. It might be a good strategy if you put a video up that basically gets no views and you know it's a lot better than it is and the timing is just really bad. Just something to consider, something that I have seen. Casey's not the only one that's doing it, or it may just be a bug in the algorithm and for that reason it's coming up. But most definitely, like, I looked at the time tags today and it was uploaded today. So very interesting. Where are we going here? Nice, got to look into the tag site. Hopefully it's helpful to somebody. Who's James Hatfield? Yeah, he's an astronaut, most definitely. The funny thing, you don't look anything like him. I think at certain angles I might, and for a brief second. But I think face on, especially where I'm wearing glasses and a hat, we don't look alike. But I get it, no word of a lie. I get it all the time. I get it all the time when I go to sort of bigger events. I think it's just somebody who's probably not a Metallica fan and sees me and has maybe seen a Metallica video once and their just memory isn't that very good. I'm loving a bunch of old comments on old videos to see a few old subs. We'll start again. And that's, you know what, I will say this as well, Josh, that's actually a really good strategy. Because YouTube implemented the heart system, the little heart, and I heart pretty much everything. Anybody who makes a comment, I heart, because I know they get a notification, and I know I'm replying to it. So basically, I know that that viewer will basically see that I've at least acknowledged that they've posted, and that, you know, I ultimately have replied to them. Whether they reply after, that's an entirely different thing. So going into your back catalog of stuff and replying to some stuff, or hearting some comments, or, you know, pinning a comment, all that kind of stuff might be a good strategy to engage some people that were subscribed to your channel or into your channel at some point and you may have lost touch with. I mean, anything that can sort of help invigorate those conversations would be good. Nick says, when I lived in Japan, people used to think I was Dominic Purcell from Prison Break all the time. You know, it's that's awesome. That's cool. I mean, again, you know, if somebody thinks you look like somebody, you get the benefits of that. You know, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think the watch time is still tied to the channel where the watch time was generated. Yeah, I mean, not ultimately sure. It's just it might have been coincidental that I sort of deleted those things and that watch time was deleted, but it was definitely a big hit. And I went in and I deleted a lot of videos. So interesting. Josh says I'm going to get rid of a ton of old videos right now and let you know how it goes. That's good. Did you delete them or just make them private? I deleted them. I just flat out deleted them. They were things that, you know, weren't, I would say, very, you know, popular videos. They were just basically what we used to do was, especially with Lloyd and JD, when we were doing sort of the daily content drive, we would put out what we would call 2-minute topics. We still have a huge amount of them. And basically for every day of the week we had a 2-minute topic. We would kind of pre-tape them. And what would happen is we would talk about something that was relevant on a Monday, but it wouldn't get published to a Friday. So sometimes those videos would just complete misses. Again, you know, sort of timing of videos and placing it and all that kind of stuff. So some of those videos that were real misses that maybe had like 5 views total, you know, and no likes, we just basically killed them because that's it. And there was no point saving them because nobody was going to watch them anyways. So there you go. Samurai Finger says, I'm guessing I'm going to take down my entire channel down and re-upload 176 videos. You know, it might be an interesting strategy. I don't know, you know, like, don't quote me on, you know, sort of the effectiveness on it. It might do some damage on the back end if you're taking out videos that have huge view counts and sort of, you know, re-uploading them. It might have that thing. I mean, Casey has a situation where if he uploads something today, deletes it tomorrow, and then uploads it 2 days or a day from now, he's probably still going to get a lot of views because people aren't necessarily watching his stuff always on the daily, and he still has that opportunity to pull people in. And I know if you have something that's big and, you know, kind of going, it's always good to kind of keep it up there because it helps overall, you know, with your view count and all that kind of stuff. And it might not hit the same way that it did the first time. There's always that risk as well. I know I have some videos, one in particular that is so hated. People just hate this video. They hate it so much. But I refuse to delete it because it always gets traffic. Somehow, you know, whether thumbs up or thumbs down, it has like 10 thumbs up and maybe a couple hundred thumbs down. So I just keep it there just for that because it does drive traffic in. You know, people hate it because they're looking for an install video, and I do it with a dash cam that I eventually did an actual install video in the Jeep. But basically it's me, you know, unboxing the thing and basically putting it in my car when I knew I was getting rid of it. And I just kind of 3M tape it to the windshield. And I think that in itself just drove people mental. So there you go. Nick says YouTube loves the hearts and the comments. The comments will also drive watch time because the video plays in the background as the person comes back to your channel to comment again. Yeah, absolutely. It definitely does that. I know, I think with the new dashboard, especially with the comment thing, again, I don't think YouTube counts your views of stuff, but I know that the new dashboard, you basically stay in the dashboard instead of you're going to your video. So that might decrease, increase, I don't know. So interesting as well. Nick says, yeah, I'm not going to chance it. Josh, everyone always thought that Trey Cool from Green Day and being a drummer didn't help that at all. Like I said, I mean, it is funny sometimes. I mean, if people are that convinced, if you get the benefits from it, albeit it's all in good fun. Divot King says, I used to get the Family Guy when I was super fat. Now I often get Chandler from Friends. There you go. Samurai Finger says, why do people hate it so much? Did you wrestle a midget and a strong lady for Jello? No, I didn't do anything remotely that cool. That is still the most rock and roll best story that we've ever had on the podcast. And if you don't know what Nick is referring to, you need to watch the episode where I believe we labeled it Stick Shift Suicide, which is Nick's band. It was the first time he came on the show about 2 years ago, and he tells this story, which involves obviously a midget and a strong lady and Jello. Most epic story ever. You have to watch it. It had me cracking up. It was magical, absolutely magical. Divot King sounds like a new ABC sitcom, midget and a strong lady starring Roseanne. Oh my god, yeah. Even that, I don't think she's going to get work anytime soon. It's just really not going to do that thing. So, as I indicated, rapid tags, and I'll throw that just in there again, just in case you guys missed it or are looking for it after the video, is a good spot to sort of generate those tags for your videos. I do recommend that you've got 500 characters to fill up in those tags. I recommend doing that. I even recommend sometimes misspelling stuff, or common misspellings is not a bad way, because a lot of times with your misspelling, you might actually rank really, really high because people aren't tagging it like that. But when people tag it like that and somebody actually does search like that, you do rank very, very high. I do have a couple videos like that. And the thing is when you get that search placement, it's going to rank you higher, especially with the tags over time. You know, it's going to filter in. It's much like Google in the sense, even if the video is not popular to begin with, if it's tagged well, it's associated well with your content, basically meaning, it's in the title, it's in the description, and having a good description is also very, very helpful, and having those things coincide, eventually it will start populating up. Again, I have some videos that were, started very, very slow, like an oil change in a Jeep, because who wants to watch that? But they're continual performers, how to fix a washing machine, continual performers, because people are definitely going on to that. And other than that, not a ton of stuff going on. If you didn't know, Kevin Smith was on Joe Rogan basically today, or it was today or yesterday. So by all means, if you are a Kevin Smith fan, Joe Rogan fan, check it out. It's kind of the best of both worlds to me. He was on the podcast. It was great. I always feel invigorated listening to Kevin Smith talk about, how he sort of built things up, as well as Joe Rogan, because, they had a really, really good discussion, basically talking how they built everything up. Joe also being a good example. He came from nothing and basically utilized his mouth and his talking and everything that he did to build what he has. And Kevin Smith talks about, sort of his podcast studio being sort of this ultimate man cave and all that kind of stuff. But really, really cool podcast. It is quite lengthy. They go through a lot of stuff. Again, I'm just a huge Kevin Smith fan. So if you do have a chance, by all means, watch that video if you're a fan of either of those guys. I think it's good. And I mean, Joe and Kevin can both talk. And, a lot of times when you watch Kevin Smith talk, he will dominate the conversation. In this one, very, very back and forth. They talk about, sort of working together on a more regular basis. I can only hope that happens. But jokingly, they say, they always talk about that when they get together. And then they do a podcast once every 10 years. All those kind of things, which, sometimes, you can relate to when you're talking about busy people that have, commitments and all that kind of stuff. It is very hard sometimes to sit down. That being said, I am looking to start another podcast again as well. I've struggled to sort of get my other podcast launched and going. I just have not been able to find a photographer that wants to dedicate the time to sit down and do, all it was a commitment for one podcast a month, what I thought was completely reasonable. Unable to do that, as a whole. So it's kind of been a little sporadic. I did have some guests on there, here and there. I do kind of want to keep that one alive. So if you do know a photographer that wants to do a podcast that's, fairly cool, or, maybe not even a photographer, maybe a filmmaker, all those kind of things, by all means, let me know. Just kind of want to sort of reinvigorate Beyond the Lens. But I am looking for, sort of another thing as well. I haven't decided what that would be, and I'm always open to sort of ideas and stuff like that. Obviously, I have all the equipment to do it. So if you are interested in doing something along those lines, by all means, give me a pitch. I am looking for it as well. I didn't mean to do it. It was the Ambien. They had a huge conversation on Joe Rogan and Ambien as well. I assume that you watched that, Nick, just in that comment alone. But yeah, it's a very, very interesting discussion. All the KKK members are snatching up Ambien. Yeah, not good. Not good, Diva King, at all. Nick, I'm going to tune out for a bit at 6 for sure. Excited to hear Satriani's story, some of these shots. We will see you at 6 then, Nick. Diva King says, how many podcasts do I have? I have 3. I have the midweek music podcast, which I put on hiatus. The reason being is that I had a timeline crunch, and unfortunately, musicians that I was getting were rescheduling, doing weird stuff, showing up very, very late for kind of tapings, and then, you know, it's sort of the same thing that played Lloyd and JD when we had music as well. You know, obviously I didn't learn my lesson, and so we sort of went from that, because basically I have Lloyd and JD. We used to do a lot of musical stuff. Guys weren't showing up. Lloyd has stuff to do. You know, he's got a busy weekend as well. I've got stuff to do, and, you know, things would get pushed and pushed and pushed, and something that should have taken maybe an hour to take ended up taking 4 to 5 hours. So at crunch, we cut out the bands. That created the midweek music podcast, which was supposed to be an in-between, which we did have. And then again, it ran into similar problems with scheduling, last-minute cancellations, and all that kind of stuff, which is normally fine if you've got a team of people that can work on these things and book stuff for you. But it's me, myself, and I handle everything, and I have my own work to deal with and publicists to deal with and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of which, I do actually have to call, not Massive Attacks, but somebody just got in contact with me about another show and some stuff that I had done. But anyways, you know, sort of dealing with all those things all at once, as well as, you know, of course, I have Beyond the Lens, which was the photography podcast, which was kind of what I always wanted to do from the start, but never ended up doing it. It's kind of weird, you know, where I sort of wanted to land as a YouTuber. I wanted to be a guy that talked about cameras and photography and camera gear and all that kind of stuff, be super hardcore into it. But I also knew that, number one, I did not have the funds to sort of fund a channel like that, especially with the tech side of things. Like, I don't have $4,000 to throw out every couple weeks to get a new camera. And I mean, you kind of have to establish a basis before any camera company will sort of like just throw gear at you and make those relationships. So, you know, the podcast was kind of the answer to that. I still think it's a great podcast. The problem is I just don't have a co-host, you know, that's been consistent. You know, I had some great people on there, and you know, just life got busy and all that kind of stuff, and that's through no fault of anybody's. It's just, you know, just kind of thing. And I've tried a couple times to launch it, and, you know, sometimes I will get people that are so invigorated and so excited to do it, and then when push comes to shove, it's just, they just don't pull the trigger. And, you know, that's hard to work with, because I am definitely a guy that I want to do it. I'll sit down and do it. I plan to do it. It's going to get done, you know, and that's, you know, kind of what you have to do, especially in this, you know, thing, is you have to kind of do, not so much a forced march, but you do have to, you know, sort of continually produce on a regular basis. It's not helpful if you're sporadic. It's never going to help your channel if you are just doing sort of one day every 3 months, you know, maybe kind of, or, you know, 4 times in 1 week, and then you don't see anything for 6 months, all that kind of stuff. Consistency is key. You know, sort of this live stream is kind of an indication of that, you know, showing it every time. Another good example, of course, is Josh's live stream as well. I mean, he is consistent all the time. You know, anytime I jump on there, because usually I'm coming back from work, he's on late at night, I'm kind of throw it on and start doing my stuff, and I'm listening in and all that kind of stuff. He always has a bunch of people there. Why? Because he's consistent at doing it. You know, he's always got half a dozen guys. I know it wasn't even a month ago that, you know, he had a couple guys and he was working to get his average of 3. It's that consistency that always pays off. What do we got here? Nick says most musicians are flaky as all get out. Yeah, it's you know, the thing is that I love music and all that kind of stuff, and I love being involved, and I love talking music, and I love talking about the music business and sort of the ins and outs of it, and, you know, my experience in that, you know, but doesn't always work. Divot King says, agreed. Rogan and Smith were excellent today. Smith captivates the viewer with his stories and common viewpoints. Yeah, absolutely. Josh says, oh my God, I just deleted so many videos. I'm kind of freaking out now, laugh out loud. Don't go too gangbusters, man. Like, it's an unproven theory, but I mean, it definitely, you know, can do it. Like I said, I recommend you download them if there's anything kind of super, super important in there. Rogan and Smith are pros at being awesome. Absolutely. You could have a show where you do reactions and break it down for the rest of us as you watch Fro et al. As they do their gear reviews, etc. Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. You know, I've talked about gear in the past. I used to talk about gear in the podcast, not, you know, necessarily having the gear to show. You know, and sort of break things down. We would discuss stuff, and that was the beauty of it, I guess, on the podcast. I know that there were times that we would discuss about things, and we talk about sort of real life circumstances. One of my biggest complaints about, you know, sort of photography and YouTube and all that kind of stuff is, and gear in itself in these gear reviews, is that they don't really go out and do it. You know, it's like everybody will tell you something is awesome, but they don't actually know. I know for myself, I have, like, you know, we've talked about this, you know, ad nauseum probably, is that the Sony AR3 is something that I'm interested in, or sorry, the Sony A7 III, something that I'm interested to use for concert photography, but I'm not sure how it's going to work. Everybody tells me it'll be awesome. The focus system is awesome, that it works, but I've been told that about every Sony camera. Anytime you go into a camera store, lots of people say it. It's not until you actually get into an application of things that you actually know. And, you know, that kind of honesty in review is what I respect. I mean, Jared Pullen, or the Fro, as basically indicated by Nick, he's actually very, very good at that. And I really actually respect Jared for, you know, being a very kind of upfront kind of guy. I like his podcast as well. Fro Knows Photo, you know, very, very, you know, cool little outlet kind of thing. It's just, you know, it's all very, you know, much catered to sort of a, you know, sort of the beginner and all that kind of stuff. But he does a great job of that as well. Divot King says the answer for the wheel is rapid tags. I haven't even asked the wheel question yet, but we most definitely do have to get to the wheel. We have to do that as well. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate, you know, all the time that you guys are spending with me today. Again, you know, hopefully we can announce tomorrow that we've actually read that cusp. But yeah, we do have the business of the wheel. For anybody that is watching, let me know what convention I am going to this weekend and that Josh WRB is speaking at. Throw that in the comments, and you will get to spin the wheel. It is not Kevin Smith or Joe Rogan, and it is definitely not 36. Brent, you are all over the map today. There's a couple little hints, you know, for anybody that missed it, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I will say the contingent that is going to HorrorCon is growing. I think Pete reached out to me today, a little bit earlier on Twitter, and said, hey, is it cool if I tag along? Absolutely. So there you go. Paul Young, every time I go away. The sad thing is about 2 feet from there, I think I can pull that album out in vinyl, that Paul Young album. So there you go. I have a ton of 80s stuff kicking around there. So, you know, like I said, I have a massive vinyl collection. I am a bit of a vinyl nerd. 80s, obviously, I grew up in, so I have a ton of stuff. Divot King gets HorrorCon, so there you go. Brett will spin the wheel today. As is tradition, the wheel is brought to us by The Path Less Traveled. Their new album, Legacy, is in Spotify and iTunes. You can download it there. You can stream it also on Spotify. But, you know, great guys. They do deserve the download, all that kind of stuff. We also have some great stuff from Nick Samurai Fingers. His band Hachiman do some covers of Iron Maiden as well as Kiss. And then, of course, we've got that gift card from Go Fresh for like $50 off their thing. So best of luck, Brent. We will spin the wheel and see how it goes today. it's all out of focus now. I think my camera is either my glasses are out of focus or I forgot to turn off the autofocusing. But sorry, Brent, you're not a winner today. I'm pretty sure that wheel just knows that you're spinning and just wants to kind of, throw it down. So you're always so close. It's hilarious to me. But you'll win at some point. I am absolutely sure that will work. Josh says the more the merrier. It's a great album, great song. My good buddy is touring bass player. That's super cool. Freshie. It's not Freshie. It's like, I can't remember. Go fresh, eat fresh. I don't know. They deliver food to your house and you make it up and it's supposed to be good for you, which is totally not my lifestyle. Probably not the best advertiser for them, to be honest, but there you go. Do not forget to wait 20 seconds when you think that you are done. Absolutely. Oh man, went away the other side today. You know what's funny is I think tomorrow Trevor will probably slide in for the Friday stream, snap it up. He'll get the answer and he'll probably win. Although he has bad luck on the wheel too, Brent, so I wouldn't feel too bad. So that is pretty much all I have for you guys today. Thanks again for tuning in. Remember again to hit that like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, bell button. Also remember to check out Rapid Tags. Hopefully that will be helpful for you. And essentially, other than that, I don't have a ton of stuff going on. We're going to test out sort of Brent's theories here. And I'm going to, say until next time, see ya. And then I'm just going to stare at the camera here for a second. And then it's going to all fade to black. And essentially, that will be it. So, good seeing you guys.